are you?
Fine, tired. It's been a long day.
Right. Three, two,
Are you
what?
are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Three, two, one. Hello.
It's war, Ben.
Is it? Are there heroes on both
Yes.
sides?
Oh, there's heroes and villains, and oh, it's a terrible, terrible thing. The lines are so blurry. I don't know what's going on anymore.
What are we doing?
Oh, you fuck off. You know what we're doing. It's in the title. What
We're,
if I didn't know? They shouldn't have clicked on it.
we're reviewing Revenge of the Sith. What do you think?
Yes. Oh, I think we should get on with it.
Okay. What do you think of it?
Well, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. It flew by for me,
Did it? Did
which is
it? Some of
which
it dragged a bit.
which in a
Which
sense was
I thought.
good. It felt like it went faster than the other two. Um, but I noted some problems and some things I would change. Um, so yeah. So I guess we start with the kidnapping of Chancellor Palpatine.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Which is it itself happens off screen.
yeah.
So I've just poured myself a drink out, which because I finished the one I had just before, right after we finished starting. So,
All right.
yeah. So off screen, the bad guys, quote unquote bad guys, get the quote unquote good guys leader,
Yeah.
kidnap him, and then they're presumably trying to make their getaway when we join them.
Yes, and it's
They're not making a very good go of getting away, are they?
well, no, they're not, but I suppose they're not really meant to. Um,
Well,
I guess Palpatine's plan was this is just a way to get rid of Dooku and Obi-Wan.
possibly,
He
yeah.
probably had a chat with Dooku and says, "Look, kill Obi-Wan. I have other plans for Anakin."
Yeah, possibly.
So
I don't
Anakin,
know.
yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan land, and it's. I like the battle scene. I like
I
the.
like the visual of that.
I,
Yeah,
I,
the
I,
shot of a that first shot of a battle does something for me
I like
visually.
I like the scenes with them on the ship. I like that entire chunk of it. It's good.
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. Some of it gets a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, like what?
I like the thing with the elevator shaft,
Yeah, I
and
guess.
then the bit with R2 in his squirting oil everywhere, and then setting fire to shit. I realised that R2D2 becomes the comic relief for this movie
Yeah,
because Jar Jar and C3PO aren't even really in it.
I realize that too.
Yeah,
I'm sort of more partial to R2 being the comic relief because I think he's a cute character. I'm very much an R2D2 fan. Um, so I didn't
I
mind it, but
don't.
I had that same realization that oh okay
I don't like seeing him relegated to comic relief.
yeah 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 Count Dooku was killed. Uh,
Hmm.
the CG on the whole is sort of fine, but some of it hasn't aged too well. There's some scenes with Christopher Lee where it's very clearly
Well, that bit where
CG
he
Christopher Lee.
that bit where he
Yeah,
flips off the balcony, and then yeah, where
yeah,
he's a walk down the stairs would have been so much more intimidating.
yeah,
There's actually a bit about that his death that I wanted to go into,
yeah,
because obviously the whole thing there is Anakin's like, oh, we need to take him in,
mm,
and Palpatine's like, no, he's too dangerous to be kept alive.
yes.
Kill him, do it, do it.
Yeah, do it. I felt that too. The similarity between that and the scene with him and Mace Windu.
There's a part of the novelization which comes across quite nicely. And the novelization isn't canon anymore as of 2014,
Mm,
but there's this bit, and it's a little bit for me to read out to you, but I'm going to read it anyway.
okay.
This is from Dooku's perspective,
Yes, I'm vaguely aware of this, but go on.
and he knows then that all has indeed been going according to plan. Sidious's plan, not his own. This had been a Jedi trap indeed, but Jedi were not the quarry; they were the bait. As he looks up into the eyes of Anakin Skywalker for the final time, Count Dooku knows that he's been deceived not just today, but for many, many years. He has never been the true apprentice, but he has never been the heir to the power of the Sith. He's only been a tool. His whole life, all his victories, all his struggles, all his heritage, all his principles and his sacrifices, everything he's done, everything he owns, everything he's been, all his dreams and grand vision for the future empire and the army of Sith have only been a pathetic sham because all of them, all of him, add up only to this. He existed only for this.
Yes.
This. To be the victim of Anakin Skywalker's first cold blooded murder. First, but not he knows, for last. Then the blades crossed at his throat, uncrossed like scissors. Snip. And all of him becomes nothing at all.
Yes.
And that's you don't. It's such a wonderful moment where that realization. Obviously, it is just in the novelization. Yes, technically, it's not canon anymore. There's no reason why it shouldn't be considered canon, given what it is.
Well, that's sort of the look that Dooku has on his face, that moment of realization that
Exactly. Yeah.
this is part of a grander scheme, and he's just a piece in a wider chess game he didn't realize was going on.
Yeah. But
Um,
he should have known, really. He should have realized.
well, every time I think of that scene, I think, why doesn't Dooku say anything?
Yeah, he absolutely should have said something.
Um,
But
yes. Um,
yes, I thought it was a nice bit. I just wanted to share that.
yeah, so Palpatine has succeeded in pushing Anakin a bit further and wants to leave Obi-Wan because he's a sort of threat to what Palpatine wants, but Anakin insists on bringing him. And then they get captured.
I thought just one teeny tiny bit. As well.
Yeah,
The chair that he's on when he's caught, when
yeah.
Palpatine's caught and is being held prisoner, is almost identical to the chair he's got in the Death Star throne room,
Yeah,
which is a nice little touch as well.
yeah.
Sort of thing. I saw it and I thought, I'm sure that's was when he was spinning in it, when he was turning it around. I thought that's very Death Star too. I'm gonna have a look at the design of that. I paused it, I had a look, and it's basically the same.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's nice.
yeah.
Yes, I get caught. Taken to Grievous.
Yes, and I do want to talk about Grievous a little bit because I know he pops up in the Clone Wars frequently.
Hmm.
So if you're a Star Wars fan at that time, you've seen him before. But if you're not, who is he? You know, and I like the design of Grievous, but I want to go
Yep.
back to my point I made way back in the Phantom Menace when I said Darth Maul should live and be sort of the main henchman baddie of the prequel trilogy.
Hmm.
I would have had that be Darth Maul.
Yeah, and that's a reasonable thing to do. My main comment on this is that he's a wasted character in the movies.
Yeah.
You know, we know that there is history there because of the fact that of the way they interact.
Whittle.
If you don't see the Clone Wars show, then you're not going to know what any of that is, and it's just it's a bit of a shame because he's a great design. You know.
I do like his design. I like how they sort of shot themselves in the foot because I think there was a Clone Wars series at the time by Gennady Tartarovsky, I think, and there
Oh,
was
I
the other
remember, yeah.
big long proper one, and they shot
Hmm.
themselves in the foot because they make a point that of Grievous and Anakin's sort of back and forth suggests this is the first time they're meeting. Of course,
Yeah.
in the Clone Wars, they couldn't meet. They
Mm.
had to sort of work around that. Um,
I think the closest they get is one of them's unconscious
mm,
and the other one's blindfolded or something stupid like that. It's ridiculous,
mm.
but it's funny in retrospect. The fact that they had to go through
Had
all
to
those hoops
work around it. Yeah, it's not
to
like
satisfy two lines of dialogue.
it's like they could have done what they did with C-3PO and just wiped Grievous's mind at some point.
Yeah,
He's suffering from early onset space droid dementia.
yeah. I mean, he knows what kind of consequences the cybernetics work that's been done to him would have on
Yeah,
his mind.
he suffers from facial blindness.
Yeah, because he ain't got a face.
Yeah, yeah. And every time Anakin and Grievous meet, they have this exact same interaction.
Mm.
It's
And
tragic,
Anakin
really.
just plays along.
Yeah. Um.
Palpatine's got great upper body strength, hasn't
Well, I was sort of thinking Palpatine must know it's still a bit of a risk, but he's got faith in Anakin and Obi-Wan's ability and in himself. Like he can protect himself in subtle ways using the Force. One
he?
assumes.
Yeah. Mm.
Um. But if this had gone wrong, I mean, he must have had a contingency plan of some sort. He may have been helping them out a little bit, or prepared to help them out a little bit in ways they wouldn't necessarily see. I don't know.
Mm.
But it's quite a gamble.
It is. It is. Yeah, it goes quite well for him,
Yeah, it sort of works out
considering.
almost perfectly, really.
Yeah.
Um, then they crash land, and I want to mention sort of my main point or my main issue with this film at this
Okay.
point, because I think Anakin's move to the dark side is a bit premature in this film.
Okay.
Because we talked in the Attack of the Clones that he and Obi-Wan are arguing a lot, and they should have been friends. I think it should have been all that angst should have been here.
Mm.
Anakin should be annoyed that he's not getting the respect he deserves. Um, when he's added
From
to
the council and Obi-Wan. Yeah.
yeah, when he's added to the council, I would have changed that. They don't want to add him to the council. They blatantly don't trust him uh, because he's close to Chancellor Palpatine. And I would put all that in here, and the scene where he goes back and gets the sort of kind of hero's welcome. I'd have had it so that like Mace Windu steps in and is like, "No, we'll represent the council. You've got other work to do," and he sends him off and doesn't even congratulate him or something.
Mm.
Um, but no, Anakin gets his little, I guess, moment where he steps out and what's his face, Jimmy Schmidt's Senator Organa congratulates him,
Mm.
and he has a well, C-3PO is briefly in it.
Yep. Totally.
C-3PO
Don't think it's
does nothing in this, really.
nothing of consequence. Though.
No,
It's implied that maybe he helps drag Padme to the ship at the end.
probably.
Because
I
as
mean,
far
he
as I'm aware, the
must.
only people there were Anakin, Anakin, Obi Wan, Padme, R2, and C-3PO.
Yeah,
Like,
C-3PO would have
uh,
carried her in, so yeah, I suppose that's.
does his knees bend enough?
I don't know, maybe he sort of kicked her along with his foot.
Maybe. No wonder she's dying.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he doesn't do a lot, anything of real consequence on
No.
screen. Whether he does anything off screen of consequence is a different matter, but nothing that matters.
Mm.
How you know that ship that they
Yeah, the invisible hand.
crash land? Yeah. How many people do you think got killed by the second half of that ship?
I don't know.
Because
I
it's quite a big ship. I just want to,
It
you know,
is. I did think when they took that tower out, I thought, oh, there's probably some people in there that are dead.
and it's safe to assume that the back half didn't land on the landing strip that
Mm.
they conveniently managed to line up with.
Yeah, there's a good chance they just leveled like some sort of slum block.
Yeah, at least 1,000 people are dead because of that. Probably quite a lot more.
It's probably
Um,
fine.
and because we've seen them by now, but we've not mentioned them. I'd like the design for Magna droids as well.
Yeah, I do.
As a combat unit, they look pretty damn neat.
Mm.
The fact that he cuts its head off and then it carries on fighting is a nice touch because logically there's no need for the head to be there.
No, there isn't.
You know, you don't have to store a robot's brain in its head.
No,
You know, so
no.
it's just a nice little thing. I thought.
Yeah. And then we get a nice scene with Padme and Anakin. And I don't rate Hayden Christensen's performance in this film. I think he's very one note, and I blame George Lucas in large part for that. But he's got some good little facial expressions in the scene where she reveals that she's pregnant.
Yeah, it does look like he's not happy about it at first.
Well, there's happiness and fear and concern
Hmm.
about a various number of things, but it's a good little reveal scene, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do question the timeline of that pregnancy
Mm,
somewhat because the whole point of this film is it basically takes place over like a week, maybe less.
mm,
And based on how she looks, I wouldn't say that she's carrying twins at a point that are safe to deliver. Um, which means that she's probably not that far into the pregnancy. We know he's been away for a fucking long time as well. Is he actually the dad? I don't want to imply she's been suggest she's been cheating on him, but like logically, the timings just don't feel.
maybe
I've
it's
seen I've seen the Clone Wars films, TV show. I've watched it, and I don't recall there being a point where it's obvious that they would have had an opportunity.
the father is actually that guy she knew when she was a kid on the young politics committee, whatever thing she did, and he went off to become an artist.
Well, I mean, from what I remember of the
Paolo or whatever his name was.
from what I remember of the TV show, it's more likely to be this bloke called Scipio.
Mm,
I think that's his name. Who's like a banking guy. and a separatist, a filthy, filthy separatist.
Oh my
And
god.
speaking of filthy separatists, she presents as a bit of a dirty separatist sympathiser later on. Not too far from this point.
Well, she's beginning to
Um,
question the Republic and actually, maybe all the separatist claims of the Republic being corrupt. Maybe they've got a point.
well, we know from the outside that yes, they were absolutely spot on.
Yeah, Dooku was right. If he even really gave a shit about that in the first place, but yeah.
Justice for Dooku.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to mention this now because it sort of
Okay.
plays into my main issue with Anakin going to the Doctor too easy. I think Padme should have died earlier in the film in childbirth. I think
Mm,
I think she should have died earlier. Anakin should have been worried about it. She should have died earlier, and it all came out that Anakin was married to her and was the father of these kids, and maybe the Jedi criticized him for that and didn't fully appreciate his feelings on the matter and took the kids away then, or something like that. I don't know. I just
the
think,
trouble you've got is that then you need to find a way of keeping them from him for the rest of the film.
mm,
Whereas this way, if he thinks that she's dead and hasn't had the kids yet, and they're all died, then at least it sort of prevents that from being a thing,
true.
right? It's like you by fixing that issue, you cause other issues.
I just,
I would say.
yeah, I still think there's something in that there should be some big point that really pushes him over because there doesn't seem to be, and where he starts this film and where he ends up are completely different places. Like he's so balls deep in the dark side by the end of it. It's
Hmm.
like how do we get him there? He's really got to hate the Jedi.
There's this weird bit where Padme suggests that he goes to Obi-Wan for help,
Mm,
and then he's like, "No, we can't do that." And then the next scene, he's trying to get help from Yoda,
mm,
and it's like, where's the logical jump there? Like, why would he go to Yoda, who he obviously has some level of animosity towards based on his dislike of the Council, as
mm.
opposed to Obi-Wan, a man who is purportedly like a brother to him?
Yeah, you need something there. You need to show that he's really, you know, something has happened and he's shifted and he's on the verge of maybe quitting or something. I don't know, but yeah, I get your point entirely. This whole film, Anakin is the core of this film, really. I mean, he's the core of all three films, and I don't think there's enough development there to get us to that end point.
Mm.
It seemed rushed.
It seems a bit forced, a little
Mm,
bit.
it does, yeah. Um,
Um, I will say that not making him a master on the council is a bit of a dick move. In fairness, I know it. Even if it's an honorary title in this case, just fucking do it. You know, it's such
mm,
an easy thing to do,
mm.
and it appease him to the point of maybe he won't help kill everyone.
Well,
What an
Palpatine
easy thing to do.
Palpatine's clearly aware that Anakin will presume that because he's on the council, only masters are on the council, therefore I'll have to be made a master. And B,
Mhm.
Palpatine knows that they're not going to do that, and C, that it'll piss Anakin off.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like short-sightedness, which is a theme of the Jedi. To be fair,
Yeah,
it seems a bit short-sighted.
you've kept saying that one of the themes of the Jedi in the prequels is that they're arrogant and they assume
Too
they
much.
have control. Yeah, they assume too much. They assume they have control over the situation, and it's staring them in the face, and they don't realize it until it's far too late. Um,
Yeah. Because I mean, one of the weird things about this is that like Palpatine literally his whole stance is that the Jedi are going to try and take over,
mm,
right? And by sending a kill squad, a rather ineffectual kill squad, might I add,
a very ineffectual
to
cast.
deal with him, they do kind of actually demonstrate that they tried to take over.
Yeah,
Whether it was actually their intent or not, whether they were just trying to arrest a bad guy or not, they literally did the thing that he said they were going to try and do.
it is a bit. I don't know what the. I mean, let's imagine they do kill Palpatine, right?
Yep.
Mace Windu kills Palpatine in that moment, and Anakin lets him, or it's just not there. How the fuck do you present that to the Senate? Are the Senate really going to believe that the Chancellor, was a Sith Lord, or is it
Doubtful.
more of a case? They're this is a PR disaster for the Jedi. Even if they like foster new elections and things like that, whoever wins is gonna come after them, or at least not trust them ever again. It's not a good look.
They are they are past the point of victory.
Mm,
It's as simple as that. For them, victory is anyone surviving.
mm.
Um, but yeah, it wasn't a really effective kill squad. But we've skipped a little bit here.
We have, yeah. I can't even remember.
Yeah,
I think we get Grievous going to Utapau.
yep, we do.
I do like the
Um,
thing where he doesn't even wait for the gangway walkway to be lowered before he sort of rushes out.
hmm,
Um, and then he goes straight into the comms room and speaks to Sidious. I like to imagine Sidious was trying to get in touch with him, and the radio was
hmm,
really shit in his ship.
yeah,
It was like, oh fuck,
yeah, probably.
oh fuck, I've got to reply to this missed call. I've got 30 missed calls from the Dark Lord of the Sith. Oh fuck.
Um, but what about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Yeah, what about
Whenever
it?
I get a meme line like this, whenever I write it down, I do it so it's in alternating capitals and lowercase, like that
Yes,
sort of fucking
yeah,
stupid person typing,
heard,
because it is such an overdone line.
yeah, yeah.
But there's quite a lot of lines in this film of fame. For
Hello
example,
there.
another one that we've gone past. Yeah, hello there. And did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis for Wise?
Yes, I like that scene where he's sort of grooming Anakin a bit more.
Yeah, because he is basically since the end of Phantom Menace, he has been grooming.
Yeah,
We
he
touched on it
has.
properly last time, didn't we? But
Yeah.
um,
Um.
he it it's an insight for anyone who was a bit slow on the uptake in the audience.
Mm,
Because let's be honest, anyone who's got a pair of eyes would have recognised that he was Sidious anyway, right?
yeah.
But the fact that they got the same actor and all they did was put a fucking cloak over his face,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's fucking obvious. You gotta be blind not to know. But yeah, for anyone who didn't know, that was the first proper, real indication that actually he is the same guy.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, maybe a couple of clues in the face that Dooku pulled towards him, but without
Mm.
Dooku saying anything, not too clear.
Um.
Um, yeah,
I like the look on his face when he's recounting that story and how he says it's ironic. Like he's sort of oh, what do you call it? He's thinking back. He's reminiscing
yeah. Well,
about his.
I suppose he is, isn't he? He's supposed to be. So
Well, my
isn't
yeah.
he meant to have been played just as
Well,
apprentice?
my understanding of that scene ever since I saw it in cinema was that he was his apprentice and that he's reminiscing on
Yeah.
the fact he killed him.
You see, I think it's a bit more complicated than that with what I know, because
Yeah.
I think part of what we find out later in the series implies that he's not just the apprentice of Plagius. He's actually sort of technically maybe a bit Plagius as himself,
Mm.
which is it gets complicated.
Are you
It gets
suggesting?
very complicated.
Are you suggesting he's plagiarized? Plagiars.
Terrible joke. That's a
Plagiarism.
terrible joke. That's a terrible joke. No, I can't. I'll have to watch the film again properly to understand it. But I think part of the whole thing is that when you kill the whole Ruler 2 thing is that when you kill your master, you end up sort of becoming a master and taking some of their Sithness sort of thing. You got to
Mm.
be down with the Sithness, right? And
That's a terrible joke.
I know it is, but I figured you'd done one. I should do one. And there's some sort of like it's like a passing on of power sort of thing. Is I
Yeah.
think how I remember it and how I understood it. But
Well,
maybe I'll come. Maybe that'll be edited when we come back to the last
mm,
film again.
we'll see.
But yeah, it is a sort of reminiscing sort of those are the good days sort of thing.
Yeah.
Look on his face.
Yeah, I do like that look. Um. So Yoda goes off to help the Wookiees.
Yeah, there's two things about that fight on Kashyyyk that I want to mention
Yeah.
because I'm assuming your main point is that he just goes off to go and help him.
Well, I can probably add on what you say, but yeah, go on.
So when the Wookiees are when we see that the droids are attacking, a load of Wookiees leave their defensive position and then start walking towards or running towards where the droids are attacking, which is a stupid fucking military tactic.
Yeah, it
If
is,
you've
but
got a literal beachhead
yeah,
and ranged weapons, you do not leave your defensive point. You
Yeah.
don't do it. I don't care what anyone says. You don't do it. It's bad military tactics. I know I'm not a general. I know I'm not a famed military mind, but I know enough to keep you cover. You know,
I just read that as bookies like to get up close and personal when they fight.
I don't understand if it was an entirely melee style of combat, right? But we know they
Mm,
have ranged weapons.
true.
Another thing,
Yeah.
I watch movies and TV shows and shit with subtitles on because you get extra context sometimes.
Yeah.
And when that bit where the Wookiees are swinging on ropes and land on the droid ship thing and then blow it up,
With a Tarzan yell.
it literally says Tarzan yell,
Yeah.
which is
I
oh
want
I don't know.
I
It
want
just
to mention something about Sheik actually.
go on.
During the scene where the camera shows us all the preparations being made, looks like there's a
Hmm.
Jedi lady there.
I think it probably was, yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Can't think who, but there probably was one.
I guess somebody went with Yoda and was killed. Um,
Most likely, because all the other
yeah.
fuckers apparently died.
So while
You get
Yoda,
a few. You get a few mentions. They mention a Jedi called Voss at one
yeah,
point, who isn't who we have actually seen,
which
but we don't really see them outside of like a teeny tiny scene. They were on Tatooine in Phantom Menace. Quinlan Voss. And they are one of the people who supposedly survives Order 66, according to the Kenobi TV series. So that's a nice little, it's only literally a name drop, and you need to
when were
look
they
out.
on Tatooine in Phantom Menace?
They're someone that we used to sort of. I think you know that bit with Sebulba where he's getting pissy with Jar Jar.
Yeah.
I think some part of that scene he's on screen,
Oh right, okay. He
but
was
it's not.
on annual
It's
leave or
definitely
something.
well, he's probably doing some other business, right?
Yeah.
You got to remember that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon weren't sent to Tatooine.
No.
So it's perfectly reasonable for there to be other Jedi business there. No
Yeah.
doubt, probably looking for some kid who's apparently got a spike in the midichlorian count or something. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Um.
But yeah, Quinlan Voss was mentioned briefly.
So while Yoda is on Kashyyyk, Obi-Wan goes to Utapau.
Yep.
And does some investigation,
Hello there.
and is told that there's a bunch of droids on one of the higher levels. So he rents a lizard,
Uh-huh.
and he goes and he faces down with Grievous, and
Yeah, it takes down his three Magna Droid guards quite quickly with that thing crushing them.
there's four, yeah, and in the middle of the fight, the clones show up, yay! There's a big battle.
And Grievous does his thing and runs away.
Yes, and meanwhile we get some shitty romantic dialogue from Anakin and Padme.
So I must have skipped over that bit in my head.
Yeah, yeah. He says she looks really beautiful, and she says only because I'm so in love. He says no,
Mm.
it's because I'm so in love with you.
No.
Like, oh, so love has blinded you? He's like, no.
I mean that ends that.
Yeah, George Lucas cannot write romantic dialogue.
We had a scene actually where George Lucas was on screen.
We did. He plays
Yeah,
a big blue aristocrat with his sugar baby.
just before the
The
just before
Palpatine and
the
opera
Darth
scene.
Vader's the wise bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
when he's watching what I have to assume is a space opera
yeah,
within the space opera.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's
yeah,
a nice, yeah, that's a nice fun meta joke. The space opera
and
has a space opera, yeah.
I assume it's some sort of opera thing. It looks like an opera house, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's probably, it's, I've always thought, because, there's the pads that he has his hands
mm,
on the chair. I've always sort of thought that maybe it's like the sort of thing where there's a sensory element to it too.
okay,
Um, yeah, that's just a little head cannon.
someone's definitely getting off to it.
Yeah. Yes, it's actually the equivalent of those seedy theatres.
Mm. It's
Uh,
one hell of a peep show.
yeah. And yeah. He should have been in a dirty raincoat
Mm.
and sunglasses. Um, yeah, and then I guess we have the fight with Obi-Wan and Grievous.
Yeah, which results to a bit of fist fighting,
Yeah, I like
um,
that bit. Yeah,
and the use of a gun,
yeah,
uh, which he obviously we know that Obi-Wan has disdain for guns.
yeah.
Uh, So he probably didn't like the fact that he had to do that, but he did it anyway.
Yeah, it did save his life, but
He leaves knowing that he hasn't got his lightsaber,
yeah,
and he leaves the gun there. So what was his intent if he got attacked?
the Force.
Well, I'll just there's a lot of ground to cover
Yeah.
between there
There is,
and
yeah.
where he ends up. So
Yeah, it's convenient that he just needs to temporarily lose it, I guess, for the purpose of that scene. Yeah.
yeah,
Incidentally, that is where I would have killed Maul off
yeah, and that
in
makes a reasonable
the same
response
place.
there.
Yeah,
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 maybe you have a repeat of what happened in Phantom Menace
yeah. It
as a
probably
nice coming around sort of.
plays out in exactly the same way.
And then it makes sense as to why that happens with him and with Anakin later on,
Mm. Yes,
because the whole high ground
I
thing
have the high
is
ground.
a allude to that, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
because that's a thing. Like this whole time, everyone's like, "Oh, I've got the high ground," but twice now he's killed major bad guys from the low ground,
yes.
from a very compromised low ground position. So high ground doesn't really mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean a thing. It's just just a weird, stupid line.
Maybe he means moral high ground at that point.
Maybe.
Like, I'm not the one who's just killed all these kids.
Yeah,
Which Padme is very reluctant to believe, considering she heard about the Sand People.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, sorry, we've skipped ahead a little bit. He
Does
takes him out,
does,
and we end up with Anakin finding out that Palpatine's a bad guy.
does Obi-Wan, just going back a little bit, does Obi-Wan know about the Sand People? Because Palpatine does.
I don't know.
Anakin confided in Palpatine, but he didn't in Obi-Wan, which is interesting. There's like
Which
so
is
much. There's
interesting.
so much. There's like a whole big chunk of their relationship that you need to stick in there, Obi-Wan and
I
Anakin,
don't
and
remember. I don't remember hearing him tell him in the Clone
no,
Wars TV show. He might have done, but because there's like 8 seasons of that shit, so
yeah.
there's a lot of ground to cover, and it's not always in order either,
Oh
and
god,
it's quite propaganda-y as well,
yeah,
which is a nice touch for it. But
yeah, yeah.
that's the thing that she mentions, and knowing that Padme mentions when they meet up again that there'd been whispers that he'd been killed,
Mm,
and I can't help but think that if he had died, it wouldn't be whispers; it would be he's martyred for they'd blow it out of proportion what he'd done at the point of dying. Like he'd take out he died so a million refugees could escape or whatever.
yeah,
Like some
probably.
sort of
Yeah.
it would be blown up into this wonderful act that he'd done.
Yeah,
Um,
for propaganda purposes. Yeah, I see your point.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't. It seems a bit silly to me that she was concerned that he died based on that, but
Mm,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Um. Yes, we get the scene where Palpatine reveals himself, and I was quite under not reveals himself. You know what I mean? He was I was quite underwhelmed by that scene.
Yeah, I mean, some of between now and um, the execution of Order 66 is quite a bit of cheesy dialogue. He sort of not quite. Ian doesn't quite pull it off as well as he could have.
I don't know. I think he was great. I think Hayden Christensen is the issue.
No, 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 no. I think sometimes it feels out of how we've seen Palpatine portrayed.
He's
Is what
well,
I really mean. I don't think
yeah.
it's quite as true to the character that we know at that point. Now, whether that's an intentional thing in terms of the performance or not, and it's like the one that really sticks with me is when he's saying no, 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 no quite a lot, and then starts
Yeah,
executing him. The
yeah.
whole thing just feels very weird compared to everything else that we've seen.
It's a bit okay. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like Palpatine is sort of presented as evil incarnate and sort of pulling the strings all the time, and he's a bit goofy in this film at
Yeah,
points.
specifically within this section,
Yeah,
there's a lot more goof going on than I was. I
yeah.
can understand when he's cackling when he's fighting Yoda because he's enjoying the fact that he's getting to try and tear this guy limb from limb, right?
Mm.
But like, this section of the film just doesn't quite sit right with the character for me.
I'm
And again, it might not be an Ian problem. It might be a script issue. It might be a direction issue. But because it's Ian that we're seeing do it, and how we've seen him do the other stuff, I attribute it more to him than.
I like it. I think this is an actor having fun with an over the top role. I think it is. I think it is him, and George Lucas is just not reining him in. I'm fine with it. I like it. I think it's fun. Um, I think he's an enjoyable villain. I like the fact he relishes in it so much, and I especially like later on the scene where he's like, "Oh, I'm so weak. Oh, please don't let him hurt me." And it's just so, it's fun and over the top, and I like that. But I appreciate where you're coming from, and I appreciate what you say about it. Um,
Mm.
I think the reveal scene needed a bit more punch to it. I don't know whether because there's no. I mean, again, it plays into the whole thing that Anakin sort of turns to the dark side pretty easily. There needs to be more setup that Palpatine thinks now is the right time to take this huge risk because it could very easily go badly for him.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, there's a point where Anakin wanted to kill him, right?
yeah, I mean,
That's
then
the whole point. There is there was a very he acknowledged that he wanted to kill him.
mm, and Palpatine liked it. There needs to be
Yeah,
a
force choke me, daddy.
yeah, yeah. Anakin needs to be like right at the end of his tether, right at the bottom of the rock bottom, or just stumble upon it, and Palpatine's hand is sort of forced a bit.
Hmm. Yeah,
But it was an underwhelming scene.
yeah.
Um,
Um, we get the he goes and tells Windu, which is a nice thing to do.
yeah, he does, and when he's like, okay, if you're telling the truth, you've earned my trust, which is nice.
Which is a dick thing to say, really.
Yeah,
Like, it's nice that that'll be enough for him to finally accept it. But realistically, given everything he's been doing for the last 4 years of the war, I think it's about 4 years, and for all the shit prior to that,
yeah,
like he should have earned that trust by now.
yeah,
You know, if anything, it should be if you're talking shit, you've lost all my trust.
yeah.
You know,
I think he. I mean,
I just
I think it would have helped display how out of the Jedi Council trust circle he is if Mace Windu had been like harder on him.
hmm.
Um, like I said, yeah, I told you this guy was up to no fucking good. That makes perfect sense. You stay here. You've done enough. Do you believe us now, sort of thing? I don't know. I need that relationship to be worse for me to buy
Yeah,
into the ending.
yeah, fair enough.
So
Do you
we
know
oh,
any of the people who go with Windu?
Kit Fisto.
Kit Fisto. He's the one who lasts the longest out of the other three Jedi.
Well, he would, wouldn't he?
I have at some point seen the names of the others, but I can't remember what they are. But Kit Fisto's the one that sticks with me because Fist.
Yes,
Um,
same. Um,
yeah, like and we see him in Attack of the Clones as well. He's the one who force pushes
yeah,
C-3PO over.
yes.
Yeah, so it's just a silly little thing.
I don't like the fact the Emperor has a lightsaber. It reminds me of a line in the only expanded universe novel I've read, which is Death Star, where a character hears something unbelievable, rolls his eyes, and go, "Yeah, right," and the Emperor's packing a lightsaber. And
Mm.
yeah, I don't like. I don't. I've talked about this last time. I don't like the over reliance on lightsabers. Um, I I don't know.
But I mean, it comes to a point where it's a sensible thing to do.
Yeah, I
So
wish he.
there comes a point where you got to get the lightsaber out.
I don't know. I sort of wish he'd done it a different way. Like he just starts levitating and fucking lightning everywhere or something. I don't.
Perhaps it would have been better if. And this is the point I made last time, but you seem to disagree with, but I can't remember for sure. Maybe it would have been better if we hadn't seen him use a lightsaber until his confrontation with Yoda. Because my point last time was I don't think the fight with Dooku was worth having the
Mm.
lightsaber. It should have been saved for a fight with the Emperor.
Well, I don't.
Because there's an opportunity for him to have this whole we are matched in the Force. We have to settle this the old way. Oh
Mm.
shit, it doesn't work like that. Opportunity there, and it feels a bit wasted. Yoda doing all the shit he does in this film feels cheaper, having seen him do it in the last film.
I
To me,
when we had this conversation last time, I didn't agree with you at all, and only in the sense that I didn't
yeah.
like Yoda having a lightsaber uh, in any shape or form. That the way you've explained it now, I'm sort of coming round. I'm sort of coming round.
Hmm. That was my point last time.
Yeah,
That was the point I was trying to get across last time.
yeah,
It's like it just feels cheap. Having seen him lightsaber fight with Mace Windu here, the
yeah,
fight with Yoda is underwhelming to me.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's just
Yeah. No, I see your point. I see your point because you're not just saying saving Yoda using a lightsaber. Yoda using a lightsaber is cool, so save it and use it once. You're saying that conversation about them being equal in the Force and therefore having to resort to using lightsabers is more fitting for him and the Emperor.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Okay.
Yoda's primary way of dealing with things is to use the Force. We have
Yeah.
the confrontation with Dooku, and it ends the same way, but pre-lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
And then we don't see him resort to the lightsaber tactic
Mm.
because he doesn't need to. And then in this case, they can't settle it with the Force, so they have to resort to the lightsaber.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I think I agree with you there. Um.
Cool, thank you.
So yeah, Anakin decides he can't take it and runs to see Vader. Vader,
Mm-hmm.
the Emperor,
Yep.
Palpatine, and
Who isn't technically an emperor at that point?
no, he's not.
You
He's still a Chancellor, and he makes his choice and he stops Mace Windu from killing Palpatine.
Yeah.
And
Oh, actually, just a quick question.
yeah,
Who won that duel between Mace Windu and Palpatine?
well,
There's an official answer to this.
Windu. Well, I suppose Windu won in a sense, but only one suspects because Palpatine let him because he knew this confrontation with Anakin was coming.
So the official stance from George Lucas is that Windu legitimately won that duel.
Okay.
The stance from Ian
Hmm.
is that he was playing him the whole time. The whole fight was playing him.
Yeah.
And that's just something interesting that I figured I'd share.
Yeah, I like that tidbit. I think Mace Windu is the better warrior out of the two of them, but Sidious could have killed him earlier than he did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's always opportunities to. Have you seen that edit where it's not Palpatine, it's Wallace and
Gromit
Wallace and
or
Gromit?
Wallace, yeah. Yes, I have.
It's treason then. I
Yeah.
was not even Wednesday day. It tickles me. I love seeing stupid shit like that because
Yeah.
you know.
I know Robot
Uh,
Chicken referenced Mace Windu going out the window and landing somewhere. But
and then yeah, the bloke with the who cleaned up Darth Maul
yeah, I,
after his fall cleans him up. It's oh god, what are we doing up
I,
there?
I did think, oh, that's someone's commute ruined.
Hmm.
Mace
Well,
fucking Samuel L. Jackson lands on the front of your space
there's
car.
speculation he's not actually dead.
Of course.
I think there's this whole thing where he's supposed to have survived. I don't know if it's a project, like a fan suggestion, or whether it's actually a project, because who knows what they're actually making these days.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, no, yeah, Anakin stops Windu. Windu goes out the window.
yeah.
Or Mace goes out the window, I should say.
Hmm.
We get that visual transformation, which is a bit CGE. It doesn't quite look right, but
Yeah.
that's what CG does in that day. It's
Now is that
2005 or something?
yeah, is that sort of hypothetical fun question. Is that what Palpatine always looks like and he's just sort of masking it? Or is he
You know when he
genuinely
says,
deformed?
when he says, "I can't hold it anymore."
Yeah.
I was thinking at that point that what he can't hold anymore is the mask.
Mm.
I think because there is this whole thing where apparently he's using the force to manipulate what he looks like. Right?
Yeah.
And I can get behind that. I can, fair enough. But I think that might be what that line really means, based on
Possibly, yeah.
I kind of think because he's expressing a level of weakness to an outside perspective. He can't hold on to life for much longer,
Mm.
right? But from a meta perspective, maybe that's what it means.
Yeah. And then Anakin immediately pledges his allegiance to evil.
Yeah, like so fucking quickly.
And I
Like,
love yes, I love how Palpatine like sort of backtracks and he's like, yeah, you know how I said my old Darth Plagueis found a way to save people from dying. Yeah, it's been lost, but yeah, we will definitely
yeah,
work on that.
together we can work it out together.
It's not as much of a surefire thing as I may have led you to believe. uh,
um, quick question.
yeah.
Do you think dark side names are chosen like randomly at the moment, or do you think there's a sort of system to it, like when we name a storm?
What, like there's a list somewhere in Sith archives and it's just you're next up, guess you're Darth
Yeah,
Vader.
because like he took a pause, didn't he?
Yes.
To when it between working it out, as if he was coming up with the name, and I can't help but wonder what the
Yes, I love how the George Lucas show comedy stage show version of this did, where it's a far more comical pause, and the actor like it's difficult to describe, but you can see him like weighing up different names, and eventually he settles on Darth Vader. Um, yeah, I think I sort of always assumed Vader meant something. It's a translation thing,
Hmm.
so it's like Vader will
Well, it's not
mean
far from the word Vater, which is father in German.
yes, Darth
Uh,
Flatchland.
you know, oh no,
Yeah,
Vater.
all
It's
right.
just how they pronounce their V's. It's more like an F sound.
Yeah, I sort of always assumed it was some ancient Sith language, and it was an appropriate word, like it would mean Darth, I don't know, young or
Darth
ambitious.
about to kill a load of kids.
Yes, Darth Patricide.
Well,
Well, not really
I don't
Patricide, but Darth. Um,
something.
yeah, yeah,
So when we get Order 66,
yes. Now, does he call
um,
each of them individually?
I think it's implied that he does, and I've seen sketches joking about
Yeah, they
that
do that in the stage
because
show as well.
it looks like he's contacting them individually because he contacts Commander Cody, who's with Obi-Wan, and
Hmm.
then we have a separate message to the people that are with Yoda, and then a separate message again to the people that are with um
Giardi
some of
Mundi.
the other people.
Yeah.
Well, we don't see the Carey Monday. I was thinking Plo Koon because it's in the ship, isn't it?
Yeah. You're right.
So I think he is doing it individually, and you got to wonder what order he chose to do them in.
Well, see, it makes more sense that it's like a pre-recorded message and he sends it out automatically. But he does open with Commander Cody, so it could. I
Hmm.
mean, it could be a pre-recorded message, and he took a late night at the office and recorded all of these individually. And maybe it
Hmm.
occurred to him
Well,
halfway.
he
Him,
looks like Sidious, like the Emperor in that
yeah.
in the messages. So
I guess he didn't.
that's an extra complication to the thing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I guess
What if
he.
he got a wrong number at some point and called someone else? You know. There's another bit from the novelization. I haven't got the exact line, but the gist of it is Commander Cody saying, "Why couldn't the order come through before I gave him back his lightsaber?"
yeah, yeah.
Which is a nice sort of
I know.
humanizing him a little
I
bit,
know
isn't it?
there's an episode of the Clone Wars where they touch on the whole idea that this is sort of implanted within the clones. It's like some
Yeah,
Manchurian candidate thing, and
it's part of their programming.
there's a
There's all sorts of different orders, but
the,
yeah, there's a whole fucking arc, and it's
yeah
fucking
that
wonderful.
there's a clone that realizes it or something and is trying to warn people, but nobody listens.
Well, he ends up dying.
Yeah.
They're like genuinely, they're so close to realizing that this is a thing,
Mm,
and it doesn't.
yeah.
He dies, and it's such a sad episode, really, when it happens
Mm,
because it's like, and there are a few clones that it doesn't work on, like the Bad Batch. I think it's like 5 clones in that are a bit, they're not quite right, they're a bit wonky in how they've been cloned,
mm.
and it only actually works properly for one of them.
I have to
But
query something. Come to think of it,
oh,
sure, this would have had to be done by the Kaminoans, right?
yep,
But the order for the clones was placed by a Jedi.
no, but it wasn't no,
But as far as they were concerned, it was.
yep. Okay, but actually, there's other orders as well. So there's an order for them to kill the Supreme Chancellor as well. I think there's contingency plans in there, contingency orders in place.
All right,
Um,
okay, that makes a
it's
degree of
not
sense.
clear based on what's going on here, but it's 66 for a reason.
Hmm.
It's because there's all these other ones. Like I can find the list actually because I've seen it before.
Hmm.
Uh, we have 150 orders apparently.
Right.
If I can find what they are, so you've got where's the list? There's a list here somewhere. List of 150.
Contingency orders for the Grand Army of the Republic.
Oh, you found them then.
Order 4 is basically the vice chair of the Senate takes power. Uh, Chief of the Defense Staff in the event that he's unfit.
65 is kill the senator, Supreme Chancellor,
Yeah,
basically. 66 for Jedi. So yeah, there is. Yeah, it's a thing that is in place. It's just that.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So while old wrinkled face is sending out 50 million messages and wondering why the fuck he didn't pre-record this months earlier. Um,
Mm.
Anakin is sent to the temple, and we get a cool march scene where he marches in and kills loads of people.
Yeah, the marching wasn't in time with the music marching,
No, I thought that
which bugged me.
I didn't like those shots. I thought the directing, for some reason, I looked at it and the directing there just looked a bit cheap. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I looked at it
No,
and thought
fair enough.
this is like a B movie. For some reason, I got those thoughts. But yeah, they kill all the
But
Jedi.
yeah, we have a proper cutaway of Order 66 happening as well, don't we?
Yeah,
And I wanted to ask you which is your which death is the saddest for you?
Alea Secura, because she doesn't really even clock it's going to happen until it's too late.
That's fair enough. I would say that in terms of how it's presented on the screen,
Mm,
Ki-Adi-Mundi is the one that makes me the most sad
mm,
because he's leading a charge, and there's that moment where he realizes that actually they're all pointing their guns at him, and he can't, he's going to die. But in terms of the overarching storyline, it's Plo Koon, and the reason why is because Plo Koon is famous for having been so supportive of keeping every clone alive as long as possible.
mm,
There's this one where a bunch of clones are they're drifting in space in like an escape pod, and they've only got so long left to die, left to live, and they like just go on without us to him, and he's like, I'm not leaving without you. You are valuable as a person. You exist and you matter to these just random clones. They're just random clones. They're not even any major clones in the story arc of
mm,
the. It's not like Rex or Cody or anything. They're just these average clones,
mm.
and he's so determined to keep them alive. And seeing him die in such a nondescript death here at their hand is just such a saddening thing to me.
I do love the music
Oh yeah,
in that scene.
yeah.
That's a great bit of music, and we get the Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we going to do?
And he glares, and then he pulls his
Yes.
lightsaber out, and that kid doesn't jump quite as much as I thought he did.
No.
It's more
It's
of a step back, isn't it? I was talking to my partner about this last night. I was like, oh, I get to watch the one where the kid nearly shits himself, uh, and she's like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, this is the whole thing that happens, and she thinks I'm weird now because of that. But
yeah.
yeah, I was going to record it, and then I realised that actually he doesn't really jump as much as I'd made him out to, so I didn't send it. Um,
uh, yeah, I don't think that's Liam. But I'm
no, I don't think it is. I was wondering
um
what happened to Liam actually.
I do want to note there's a scene where Bail Organa shows up and he's turned away, and then a Padawan starts killing clone troopers and is killed, and that's Bail Organa's like, oh fuck, some shit's gone down.
Yeah.
I have a feeling when I was watching this scene that that kid won a competition, the actor.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that's true. I'm gonna look this up.
Okay.
Uh,
It's interesting to me. Bail Organa is told that there's been a rebellion,
yeah,
and then he ends up helping form
yeah.
part of the rebellion, and it's amusing to me that that's a thing. Uh,
Competition winner Jedi.
we have um we have this bit where Yoda's trying to leave Kashyyyk as well after he clocks it and saves himself from dying. Um, and I assume you noticed who the Wookiee was
Yes,
that was with him.
Chewbacca for reasons that are fan service.
Yeah, absolutely fan service reasons. Um, but yeah, Chewbacca and Tarful as well is the other one. Um, we don't. I don't think his name. Oh no, he does. He does say goodbye to them both, doesn't he?
Mm,
By their name. But yeah, Chewbacca's there. My note was, oh look, Chewbacca.
mm.
And when he leaves, I had in my head it's like that bit at the end of ET where ET leaves. It's like he just gets in the ship and he just flies off.
Yeah,
ET obviously being a Star Wars character, based on the fact that he recognises Yoda and ET's creatures are in the Senate.
yes, they are. Yeah.
So just something to bear in mind there.
Uh, oh, apparently Hayden Christensen shouted "boo" when he was killing
Yes,
the
yes, he did.
younglings, and he apologized years later.
There's this bit in the Robot Chicken version actually, where he gets through it by telling him to close their eyes, telling him he's got a surprise for them, and imagining that they're daffodils or something
Yeah.
that he's cutting down. And then the next scene is he's giving Padme some daffodils, and she screams, and it's like, what the fuck? That's got a bit dark.
Yeah.
You know, it's bad enough that we're killing children, but you know, yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to find this, but I don't. I'm sure I didn't imagine that it was a competition.
No, it's probably it's vaguely rings a bell as well
Yeah.
for me that there was something going on there.
I think I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Um. Yes. So Obi-Wan, in a nice bit of it's foreshadowed that Grievous is trying to flee to his own personal landing pad.
Mm.
Obi-Wan goes back and steals his personal ship, his bomber.
Yeah, because you've flown that bomber, haven't
I
you?
have,
Or a
yeah,
variation of that bomber in the game.
yeah.
So
And then Bail Organa is sort of rounding people up, and there's an emergency Senate, special Senate hearing. Is that a video chat? Because Obi-Wan and Yoda are right there.
I hope not, because you know otherwise there's all sorts of trouble from that.
Yeah, you'd think he would have noticed the guy.
Mm.
Um, but no, they go back, and we should note actually we forgot to mention this: the separatist leaders have been sent to Mustafar,
Yes,
and Newt Gunray's
Mustanir, Mustafar.
yeah, Newt Gunray's getting a bit antsy because Dooku's dead, and shit's not going to plan, and he's probably getting a bit tired of this war and constantly looking over his shoulder.
But he gets assured that when Darth Vader arrives, he'll take care of him. So I don't know what the problem is.
No, he gets assured that when Darth Vader arrives, he'll take care of you.
Oh no, there's not that enunciation there.
It
Trust me.
feels like it.
No, we know there is. You know, but we're smart enough to read the context. But he's a Neomoidan. Neomoidian. You know, the context is lost on them. You know,
Yeah.
they don't understand subtext.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's a nice little. It's almost like a wink to the audience. Though.
Oh my god, I'm on the IMDb trivia page because this thing's really annoying me. And apparently, the original cut for the movie was nearly 4 hours, and the opening battle with the Palpatine rescue alone ran for over an hour.
Wow.
So yeah. Um. Yes. So he's so Anakin goes and well kills the separatist leaders.
Hmm.
And while that's happening, I think there's an emergency hearing in the Senate, and Obi-Wan and Yoda are going to use this opportunity to sneak into the temple and find out a bit more about what the fuck has gone on.
They really go ham on all those clones, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's pretty easy for them.
Yeah,
They don't.
considering.
They don't even seem to have any. There's no point where they like try and talk to them.
Yeah, it's a bit. Well, I mean, maybe they do, and we just don't see it, right?
And try and negotiate this.
If it were me, I'd be picking up all the lightsabers I could in that moment. They know about all these dead Jedi. All
Yeah.
these lightsabers are lying around. You fucking pick them up because they are. You don't want them just going to any old random person,
No.
and they will end up on the black market. I don't care what anyone says.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're collector's items on whatever the Star Wars version of eBay is. Um.
Starbase.
Yeah.
Dexter Jetster is picking them up
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. Um. Yes. So the emergency session of the Senate is basically Palpatine saying there's been an attempt to kill me. Jedi are enemies of the state. I've gotten rid of most of them. We're gonna we're gonna transform the Republic into the Empire because it will be more secure, and I will lead
The
it.
First Galactic Empire.
Yes, this is how liberty dies.
Yes, with thunderous
With
applause. That is
thunderous
a
applause.
wonderful line, isn't it?
It is.
And it feels so relevant.
It does. It does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sad. But... yeah, there's Obi-Wan and tells Padme about all the youngling killing.
Well,
And
he finds out first, doesn't he? He goes and he's
yeah,
like,
he
"Oh my
finds out.
god, this is awful. That kid jumped a fucking mile. That's insane." And Yoda's like, "I will kill the Emperor, and you can
Hmm.
kill this person who is basically your brother. Instead of, I don't know, maybe we both go after the Emperor."
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no urgency necessarily to go after Anakin at that point.
Yeah. I mean, what?
But he does it anyway.
I don't know what happens. Like, if they kill the Emperor and they kill Anakin, surely the clone troopers still regard them as enemies of the state.
Well, that's a point actually. I was wondering how do they determine that Anakin isn't a Jedi? That must have been programmed in at some point as well, right? Because I know you've not seen it, but Ahsoka Tano in the Clone Wars TV show is considered a Jedi, even though she left the Jedi Council. She left for Jedi the Jedi Order a few seasons before that.
Hmm.
So, but she's still considered a Jedi by the clones.
Hmm.
So it seems weird to me that Anakin, who is very famously a Jedi,
Hmm.
you know, I
Yeah,
don't know, I don't know.
I see your
It's not
point.
like execute Order 66, but not on Anakin Skywalker.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
And the whole point of it is sort of it's presented in other stuff as being almost a compulsion rather than a decision to kill a Jedi.
yes. That
They
ma-
don't they don't really have any control over it.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So
Um,
I don't know. It doesn't quite sit right with me. I can get over it, but it doesn't quite sit right with me.
yeah, yeah. So Obi-Wan goes to get a lead from Padme.
Yep.
See if he can find out where Anakin's going. Figures out she's pregnant and that Anakin's the father.
Yep.
Um, and leaves only to follow her to Mustafar.
Yeah. Somehow get to her ship before she does,
Yeah,
and then sneak on board and hide in what I have to assume is the toilet.
yeah, that's what I thought. It's just like a storage closet, and hope to God C-3PO doesn't need any
Feather dusters or
or
something.
boxes or something. I don't know.
And he can't be asked. He can't be asked to close the door himself. He uses the force to close the fucking door. How lazy is that?
That's probably
Like,
more
don't get me
effort.
wrong. If I had the force, I would probably use it to pull random objects to
Well,
me that were close enough for me to reach. But I wouldn't be. You know, it just seems a bit silly.
I would argue that maybe that's the sort of room that can't be closed from the inside.
Okay, I could. Well, again, it depends what it actually is. If it's a toilet, then it can, and if it's a cupboard, then it probably can't.
Yeah, I don't think it's a
Um,
toilet.
I would accept maybe if he was using a force to lock it.
Mm, yeah.
I mean, hopefully can unlock it with the force afterwards.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, they get to Mustafar. Padme sort of confronts Anakin, who sees it coming. Right after he's killed all the people, because it's like getting still sort of going on a little bit, isn't it? While that's happening,
mm,
um, you get Newt Gunray saying that we were promised peace. We just want to, and he gets cut down half
yes,
his sentence
enter
because
Newt
Starbuck's a
Gunray.
bastard.
I know there's a bit. I think it's in a video game where Archduke Poggle the Lesser gets crushed by a door.
I know there's a video game where you get to assassinate one of these Geonosian leaders
Mm,
at some point, but
mm,
yeah, the Republic Commando game where you play you play a group of four clones, but you control one of them, and they all have specialist skills that
mm,
you control. And they never did make a sequel to that, and it's a shame because it's quite a good game.
mm, mm.
You know, I enjoyed it. I keep meaning to play it at some point again, but it's what it is.
Ah, no, I was wrong. I found it. So the Jedi is apparently George Lucas's son, Jet
Ah,
Lucas.
okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and General Grievous' cough is apparently George Lucas's cough. So yeah.
Oh,
Um,
is it really?
yeah,
But you saw that bit where he opted to not cough before going into the meeting with the hologram meeting.
yeah,
He cleared them all out, and then he went into the meeting so he didn't cough. And Mace Windu caused that cough as well. In the who was it? Tartarovsky? Did you say?
yeah.
I think
Oh
that's right.
right, yeah. He crushes his. Yeah, I vaguely remember reading that. Um, yes. So Yoda challenges the Emperor
Mm-hmm.
and immediately gets knocked on his little green ass. And Anakin confronts Padme, and she's very sad. And then
Yeah.
he force chokes her, which is again out of character.
Yeah, it's not something that we've demonstrated in being able to do either, is it?
I mean, it makes
It's like
sense,
you
but
turn to the dark side, you can automatically start choking people. Is
also,
that?
would Darth Vader have such a fondness for choking people out with the Force if he believed it was the thing that had killed the love of his life?
Well, I don't know.
Would he be
Probably not.
keen to revisit that moment? See, this is why I think Padme should have died earlier, because it would make sense as to why Anakin's so pissed off and broken and turns to the dark side because he's got nothing else to live for.
Like I say, you just cause other problems by moving it.
I think I don't know. I think there's something in there that could be.
There might be, but you need to address the other problems when that you could get caused by doing it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. You
just
need.
what it is.
Yeah, I think I've got a fair enough point though. Um, yes, and then we get our fights.
Yeah. Now I prefer the Anakin Obi-Wan fight to the Yoda Sidious fight, and again I've touched on my issues with the Yoda Sidious fight already.
Yeah,
But I do like the Anakin and Obi-Wan.
yeah, yeah. I do. I think maybe it goes on a little too long.
was I like it seems a bit silly,
What does?
but I like the bit where they're just waving their lightsabers about, they're not actually hitting each other. So it's only
Yes.
like 5 seconds of footage or something,
Yeah.
probably less than that. But it seems really weird in context.
I think maybe there needs to be more little moments. I think of the moment when they fight, when Qui Gon and Obi Wan fight Darth Maul, and you got that character moment where the door's shut and each of
Yeah.
them is doing something very in character. Maybe there should be something. I don't know. I don't know. It's sort of basic-ish basic choreography even. Um, I mean, I'm sure it took a lot of work and stuff,
Oh,
but it's just sort of a basic fight, you know.
they you get the music. It's a variation of Duel of the Fates again.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's not quite the same. And
Mm.
that's nice. You know, it's a nice bit of music for the nice rounding up of the arc, as it were.
Yeah.
Um, I like the setting.
Yes, I do too. An oil refinery, essentially, or an oil harvesting plant.
Well, I mean, they're dipping buckets into lava, so I don't really know what they're doing there.
They're
But
harvesting lava minerals or something from the lava. I guess I think it's something like that.
I don't fucking know. It mostly doesn't really matter, does it? It's just a setting. But
Yeah.
you know,
They accidentally turn off
um,
the shield and end up going in the lava, and there's a lava waterfall and things like that.
yeah, there's that bit where they both sort of just take shelter from raining lava,
Yeah.
which I don't really think I'd noticed before.
Oh.
It was sort of nice, and it felt a bit pirate ship as it was drifting down the lava river. I thought
Yeah.
the lava flow, I should suppose I should call it.
Yeah.
Um, with
Yeah.
it teetering a little bit, and it's like they were on a pirate ship's rigging,
Mm.
having a little sword fight because yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um. Again, you need to show the decay of that relationship that it gets to this point where Anakin hates Obi-Wan Kenobi and wants to kill him. You know,
Hmm.
and we don't really get there because last time they saw each other, they were best of pals.
Yeah, they
Um.
were.
Yes. So Palpatine and Yoda end up fighting in the Senate chamber and throwing pods at each other.
Which is a bit silly, isn't it?
Eh.
It's
And
just
Yoda ends up fleeing.
yeah, him going into exile is, as far as I see it, him just saying, "Nope, I'm not dealing with this bullshit anymore. I've had enough."
Yeah.
He has an opportunity to do more, and he doesn't. He's like, "No, I'm gonna go hide. I don't
Yeah,
care
he
anymore."
gives up until the time is right. He says, even though
Yeah,
he
he doesn't really do anything.
well, no, he doesn't. Luke seeks him out at the behest of Obi-Wan, unless Yoda asked
Yeah,
Obi-Wan to send Luke to him. But I don't know.
yeah. There's this whole communing with dead people, isn't there? Thing going on, and
Yeah,
what we get to a little bit later on, and it's like maybe Yoda's been talking to Obi-Wan,
possibly. I mean, he
but
says.
I don't know.
I mean, Yoda says in Empire that he's been watching Luke all his life.
Yeah, I know from the Rebels TV show that Yoda contacted Ezra at one point. Ezra being the main character of the Rebels.
Mm,
Like, if there was one main character, it would be him from the Rebel series.
mm.
And I think Ezra's in like a Jedi temple, and he ends up being contacted by Yoda, but he's not sure if Yoda's alive or not at that point. He doesn't know if Yoda's just like a ghost or if it's an actual person.
Mm.
But that is a thing that happens, and contextually, based on the timing of when this stuff takes place, Yoda was alive at that point. So I'm willing to accept that Yoda and Obi-Wan are in contact
Yeah,
whilst they're both in their respective exile.
yeah,
This doesn't really feel like exile if, if you just WhatsApping each other, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, mm,
I don't know.
yeah. Didn't really bother reaching out to the rest of the Jedi, though, did he?
No, they're like, stay away from the temple, and then that's it. And there's quite a lot of Jedi. I mean, I think we're up to like 30, 40 Jedi have survived
You
it.
you could have brought them together and joined the Rebel Alliance and done something with that, but no.
Well, you get some of them. Ahsoka Tano does joins the rebels. I know she's not
Uh,
technically a Jedi, but she does help out with the rebels.
mm,
You have Quinlan Voss that I mentioned earlier. He helps with. There's like a in the Kenobi TV show we have him mentioned as someone who's helping like a rail underground railroad style sort of thing.
mm.
You know the
Yeah,
slave
yeah, yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They've got that sort of thing going on to keep people like Jedi and away from the Empire.
Mm,
And he's involved in that. He gets name dropped in that. This is how I mostly know him, to be honest with you. It's because of that. You don't see him, but you hear about it.
mm,
Um, but
mm.
so many fucking Jedi survive. It's ridiculous. I know they're like, oh, we've not heard from anyone, but
Have you
it's in
tried?
hand now.
Have you tried to
You know,
find anybody? Like,
I can understand the likes of Ezra not being surviving it because he wasn't a Jedi at the point that it happened, right?
uh,
It turns out he's force sensitive and he's living in a post Empire or in an Empire world, right? That's fine. I can live with that. But the people that all the other bloody people that survived it, it's like how the fuck?
well, it's. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's because if you're writing a Star Wars book set in this post prequel, pre sequel, or pre original trilogy setting, Jedi are cool. People like Jedi. If you're a Star Wars fan or a Star Wars writer, you want to write Jedi stuff. If everybody's dead apart from Obi-Wan or Yoda, you can't really touch them and make them fight the Empire because it'll fuck up the main continuity. You gotta write so somebody else
See, that's
survived.
that's I know I harp on about it a lot, but that's one of the reasons why Rogue One, Andor, and Solo, in a way, although it's not as good a film, it's why some of those three are worth acknowledging as much as I do.
Mm,
It's because they cover characters that are not Jedi. They're
mm,
not part of a Sith Jedi. I think they're just people getting on in the world. And okay, fine, there's a bunch of rebel stuff going on in that, but joining a rebellion is more an act of survival for some of these people.
mm,
You know, it's you touch on this world outside of what the fuck is going on with the religion, the two religions at war with each other. You know,
mm.
it's nice to see it. It provides more context to the worlds they live in without it always being, hey, I can move stuff with my mind and I've got a lightsaber.
I suppose it
You
is
know,
a religious war, really, isn't it? I never really thought of it
yeah.
that way, but it is.
Well, they talk about it being a religion, don't they?
Yeah,
The Jedi way.
yeah,
Logically speaking, the Sith are going to be a religion as well.
yeah. Um, yes. So Jimmy Schmidt saves Yoda, and they go to the
Yeah.
Tantive Four, and Obi-Wan, in an act of love for his best friend, cuts off his arm and his legs and leaves him to burn to death because he can't bring himself to put him out of his misery. I did
I
laugh when when Padme asked if Anakin was all right. Obi-Wan should have said, "Yeah, yeah," because I've cut off his left arm. He
yeah.
is now. Um, yeah, and Darth Sidious suddenly gets a feeling that Anakin needs help, so has his shuttle prepared immediately. I read somewhere, and I can't remember where, that Sidious was pretty fucking annoyed that Anakin went from being fast and bold Anakin Skywalker to being sort of clunky, still powerful Darth Vader because it wasn't his full potential
Yeah.
because he'd lost like all of his limbs at that point. But there is a scene. I read this on the IMDb trivia page just now when Palpatine lies or sits beside him and puts his hand on his head. Apparently, that's meant to mirror the scene where Obi-Wan does that to Luke
Oh,
after the
okay.
Tusken Raider attack. Which, yeah,
Mm, I didn't get that, but
no, I
fair enough.
I didn't. I like that scene, but yeah. Um, yes, Padme goes into labour and is delivered of two children and then dies because
Mm.
she has lost the will to live even though she's got kids, which is nice of her.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing to live for anymore.
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
You know,
Um, yes, Obi-Wan and Yoda decide to go into exile, and they're gonna. Uh,
separate the
yeah,
kids.
Senator Organa is gonna take Leia.
Who's
Uh,
gonna live in a life of luxury
yeah,
as a princess on a very beautiful planet. You don't see
yeah.
an awful lot of
No,
Alderaan,
you're right.
and it's
Yeah,
a very pretty
it's
place.
very
In fact,
scenic.
you see, until this point, that's the most we've seen other than it getting blown up,
Yeah, she's got
right?
a lovely lake side view from her balcony.
There's there's a bit of time spent on there in the Kenobi series, but
Mm,
it seems a bit it's not the focus of it, right? We're there for a little while, and Flea turns up and kidnaps Leia,
mm,
and that's it. So
mm. Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
she Leia gets that, and Luke gets raised in a shithole in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, by two people that, as far as we understand it, haven't been told Obi Wan's coming, are handed a baby, happy about it, and then let him walk off.
Don't even know who Obi-Wan is.
Yeah, they've not met him.
He doesn't even seem to say anything.
No, he turns up with a baby,
Here's
gives
a
it to him, and
baby.
walks away. He could be anyone. That baby could be anyone. How did he know it's? Was there a note? Did
Mm.
he leave a note with them?
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Did Darth Vader never have the urge to visit his mother's grave?
Well, I mean, I suppose he was trying to. As far as he was concerned, Anakin was dead, wasn't he?
Well, he visits, in the expanded universe, he visits Padme's tomb.
Hmm, that's true. Because he spends a bit of time investigating her, doesn't he? What happened to her?
Mm,
And he hangs out a little while with one of her handmaidens, Satine, I think is the
mm.
or Sabe or something silly like that, some silly name.
Um, yeah, I guess Kleeglass is dead.
Yeah, it's implied from the fact that he's not there, but
Yeah.
we don't know for sure. I was thinking that maybe he's dead at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, if Darth Vader had, it's awfully close to home, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a reason for him to go there if he felt like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Um,
met those two people.
yeah, both of them.
You know.
He shared dinner with them.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
had a mental breakdown in their garage.
yeah. He has. He was tinkering with their stuff.
Yeah, dirty bastard.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, he could have gone. It's
But again, that's why it matters that he believes that the Padme and the children have died, or the child has died,
yeah.
right? Because otherwise, there's reason for him to
Search them
look
out.
into it
Yeah.
further.
I mean, you can
So
still you can work around that. I'm sure
you
in
can.
my
That's
version.
it's another complication. That's the only point I made.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know how. Yeah, it's weird that Darth Vader just never visits. I say visits. You think I don't know. He's no reason to, but it's
He took apparently he took comfort in watching them die.
who?
Later on in
Oh,
when from what I gather, he insists upon witnessing Owen and Baru's deaths via comlink or something when they die at the hands of stormtroopers in A New Hope.
but
We
then
don't
he.
see it, but it's one of these expanded universe things.
I don't know. I think the entire thing that he's. I don't know. Maybe Luke should just not have been related to these people at all. I don't know. Maybe Owen and Baru should have just been called themselves his aunt and uncle, but just been people that were friendly enough with the Jedi or something. And then the whole thing with Anakin's mum happened with a different group of people. You know, there should be
Very possibly.
more distance because it's
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's yeah, it's not as close as him being his brother. which is what I sort of was leaning towards it should have been before, but I don't know. Um, yeah, Anakin is now Darth Vader at the Emperor
Yep, he has found the
Palpatine
suit and everything.
Surgical Reconstruction Center and is told the news of Padme's death.
That's so cheesy, isn't it? That bit.
I watched that scene and it was coming up and I thought this isn't as bad as everybody makes it out to be, and then it happened and it was like, okay, yeah, this is
Yeah,
awful. This is really bad.
it's not. It's not good, and
You're
it's a
like,
shame as well because it's James L. Jones' voice, isn't it?
yeah, it should have just been a plaintive wail to the sky or something. I don't know,
Mm.
but him going no.
Crushing a few things, and Palpatine's clearly gonna be shitting himself a little bit in case something of his gets crushed.
My stuff, yeah. Um,
No, he gets rolls up a newspaper and hits him on the face. It's like, no, stop that, stop it.
he gets a spray bottle you use for cats. It's like, hey, stop it! Not in the house or in the Emperor Palpatine Surgical Reconstruction Center. He's
Do you
quite
see me breaking your things?
he's quite pleased that he's put him in this incredibly uncomfortable suit where every now and then the breathing apparatus just stops. Just
There's this whole
permanently
thing where
pissed
like
off.
I remember reading a theory that perhaps Padme dies because Palpatine shifts some of her life essence into Anakin to keep him alive or something like that. I don't know. I don't like it as an idea, but I feel like that's a thing that I read at some point.
Yeah.
It would explain her death. I mean, obviously they say that there's nothing medically wrong with her.
Just make something medically wrong with her. He aggravates a pre-existing medical condition.
I cannot stress enough. I lean towards complications in childbirth following the incident in the arena, Veterinaki arena, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I honestly think that is the most sensible thing you can go with. But
Yeah. Um.
she fell, God knows how far, at whatever pace a woman falls in that gravity onto a firm-bodied creature,
Yeah.
vagina first.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna do some damage.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do damage doing stuff you're meant to do to them. You
Mm.
know, you.
Mm.
I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility.
Yes, and C-3PO gets his mind wiped.
Yeah, but not R2 for some reason. R2's a chatterbox.
No, he's not. He keeps secrets. When he had that secret recording, he wasn't letting on. He's a good
No,
boy.
he whistles and beeps all over the bloody place, mate.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're on about. Oh, it's all cutesy because no one can understand what he says unless he's plugged into a computer. But he's always bloody whistling and
He is. He's a good little droid. He shouldn't have been in these films, and nor should the C-3PO. Oh, yeah. Um. Yeah, and then we end with the setup for.
Well, hang on, because
Sorry?
the implication there is that R2 knows or remembers all of this shit
Yeah.
for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And we understand why C3PO doesn't know all this shit. But the implication is that R2 does.
Yeah.
And R2 decides to keep his mouth fucking quiet for God knows what reason.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't understand why he hasn't at any point been, I'm fucking tired of this shit. Here's everything.
I mean, what would he? I mean, he could have told Luke that Darth Vader was his father,
He could have. He could have.
and that he and Leia were. Don't go kissing her, Luke. She's your sister. It's a long story.
And there's this. It turns out there was quite a lot of Jedi, and there's this bloke called Yoda somewhere, and he's a pretty strong Jedi, and the Emperor was he tricked your dad into killing a load of people.
Yeah, they should not have been in those films.
Just wipe both their memories and its problems on.
It's not well. It still doesn't.
It doesn't excuse him being in the film, but it at least excuses the lack of information transference.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Revenge of the Sith. What do you think overall?
It's not as bad as I remember, but yeah, I think it is my least favourite of the three.
I think it's rushed in places. I think the characterization isn't great, but it is the most watchable. Certainly the prequels. It's a watchable movie for me. I can still.
There's less of it that I would cut out for the sake of improving it.
I would
I will say.
shift a good chunk of it around and make major alterations. I think that's one of the main reasons why people are still doing what we're doing and making videos about the prequels and reviewing them and stuff because they are they aren't great movies and there's a lot of stuff wrong with them, but the stuff that's wrong with them is wrong in such a way that it's fixable. It encourages you to come up with ways to fix it, and there are a number of ways you can fix these movies and make them a lot better. Um,
You can fix any movie if you put the time to
Not
it.
necessarily. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, you
These
can.
films aren't conceptually flawed. There's a story there to be told. I don't think George Lucas is the one to be writing and directing. There's
And
something
acting
there.
in this case.
Yeah, there's something there to work with. But I think it's fun to look at these films and think, right, here is how I would restructure this. Here's what I'd take out. Here's what I'd add. Here's how you fix this. And I've heard so many suggestions from so many people online that I've seen videos of people doing basically this and suggesting that. I've done it, for these films. Um, I don't think they're as bad as a lot of people make out, but I certainly don't think they're good films on the whole. I think they're very flawed. Um,
I am curious. I know we won't know for another 5 weeks. But I am very curious to find out where they place in comparison to the sequel movies
mm,
for you.
we'll
I'm looking
get
forward
there.
to finding that out.
Get there. I think there are some good things about these, and I think one of the reasons people are defending them more so nowadays is the generation who were kids when they came out have grown up and begun making videos, and the sequels are there. But I don't think we should kid ourselves into thinking they're masterpieces or even great films. What do you think overall of the prequels? Because I was pleasantly surprised on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, second and third were, like I say, better than I remembered them being. But it has been quite some time since I've watched them, and I
Mm,
am a different person to who I was back then.
mm,
And so these things are always going to be received differently in such circumstances.
mm.
Um, I mean, I'm not entirely sure I had a kid last time I watched these
Well, I
because
know
how
I
long ago?
I know I didn't.
Well, exactly. So we're talking potentially 10 years plus since I last saw them,
Mm.
and I am fundamentally a different person to who I was back then. I don't care how anyone wants to look at it. I am. So, it's I enjoyed them more this time than I did back then, and that is as much as I'm going to go into.
Mm. So where did this rank for you?
I mean, like I say, I think it's my least favorite of the prequels. Still,
Mm.
I just I
So,
don't. There's some good, fundamentally good moments in it, and it's a very quotable film. You know, because my allegiance is also to a republic, to
mm.
democracy, but I don't I don't rate it as highly as the other two, and that surprised me because going into this series I was expecting it to be my second favorite of the prequels.
Mm.
I was expecting Clone Wars to be below it, but I do think I have to put this below Phantom and Clone Wars.
I
Attack of the Clones, sorry.
I don't know where it sits for me. As I said, it's the most watchable of the films. It just flew by for me, really.
There's a lot of dark color schemes in it. I mean, whilst we've been having a bit of talking, I've been trying to pull some
Mm,
of these pictures together, and a lot of them are very dark colored, which is just because they're key moments that are worth taking the pictures from. And
mm.
they're dark. They're really
I
dark.
I think Attack of the Clones is my favorite of the prequels.
Okay.
I think the stuff towards there's as I said before, there's good stuff for me once Anakin goes back to Tatooine. Everything else before that is really messy. Um, I think Revenge of the Sith is very watchable and flew by, but I think it's got real problems and the pacing isn't great. And there's, as I say, Anakin doesn't have any reason to go that deep into the dark side. And then the Phantom Menace, I think I don't know. I've got problems with that all the way through. I think that's my least favorite of the three. I don't even think if my changes were implemented, I'd like it all that much even then. So for me, it's Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, The Phantom Menace. And then for you, it's Empire.
It's 5, 6, 1/2, 4, 3. I think,
Hang on,
based on
hang on. So Empire,
yeah,
Return of the Jedi,
yeah,
Phantom Menace.
yeah,
Jesus, Jordan, the Phantom Menace. Then
which I think is about on par with Attack of the Clones,
okay, then A New Hope,
and then A New Hope.
and then Revenge of the Sith.
I think the thing with A New Hope is it suffers from having been created as a standalone film and it being adapted into not being
Mm.
without it actually having changed. I think that weakens the film somewhat.
Well,
And I
that's
can't. I shouldn't really. It's not really fair for me to criticize a film in that way for it, but I do. It's how I feel.
that's part of the reason we like Empire Strikes Back because
Well,
it's the follow on from the standalone. But yeah,
yeah, but that's the thing. It was designed as a follow-on from a standalone.
yeah, I see your point.
You
Yeah,
know, I think A New Hope has a story is weaker because of it intentionally being a standalone film.
yeah, maybe.
It's one of the reasons why again I know I go on about it, but Solo and Rogue One are standalone films.
yeah.
You know they are. I know Rogue One leads into A New Hope, but
Mm.
like it's just a slice of something that's going on in the universe at that point with
Mm.
no intentional. It's meant to just be. It's a self-contained story. There is no here's what happens next to these people
Mm.
sort of thing. This is what happens to these people in the context of everything else that's going on. And the same
Well,
for Solo. It's the same situation.
we'll see, but we'll pick this up next time. We'll be looking at Solo, which I have a feeling I'm gonna fucking hate.
I suspect you would as well. It's worth noting from now on, it's all new to you, isn't it?
It is these are the films I've seen. I have not seen the
Yeah.
sequels. I have not seen Rogue One. I have not seen Solo.
So yeah, and it's funny you did them in reverse order.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, Solo, which is also on Disney Plus. I had to double check because it wasn't being coming up as a suggestion, but I suspect that's because no one really liked it all that much.
Mm.
Uh,
It's promising.
but yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's yeah. We'll have to see how it goes. So next
Yeah.
week, tune in, everyone. Please.
Bye.
Bye.